There are marks on different bodies.
The fact is, all of you people will discuss it, but I want one person to come out and say today, tell me, you know the problem is, you want me to tell you the truth? 50% of people watching this program are feeling guilty right now. 50% of the people watching the program, including maybe all of you, are because you either know or many people have done. Dowry is taken and accepted. Everybody may not beat. Many people torture. Many people assault. Everybody does not kill. Manvi, Manvi, don't assume you're speaking.
Mercedes nahi mila tha. She was riding a Mercedes.
Not just that.
She was driving a Mercedes, so what? 1 minute.
How does it matter?
Surabhi, you are saying she was driving a Mercedes and making a reel, so she deserves to die because she should not
deserve to die. She was trying to blackmail, and it was by mistake that she has put herself on
blackmail
fire.
whom?
Dots are not connected. You need to understand. She was just
1 minute, Surabhi. Here's a woman building an anti-woman narrative on my program. Yes, Surabhi, louder, Surabhi.
You're sure of the other side of the story, but you poke holes in the dowry angle. Why is it that you're so sure of the other side of the story, that she is guilty, she is complicit in her own death?
You can see she's getting hurt, but you cannot see the marks.
Why is it? There is this saying that there are some women who suffer from patriarchy and
not made initially.
It was patriarchy. Unfortunately, we see both kinds on the television show today. Why? So if you are so unsure about the cause of death, let's be a little ambiguous about that and say we don't know the facts of the case. But to blame her when she is dead. You're blaming the lady who is dead.
And you're saying the girl was tortured, what the parents were doing for so many months.
You can see a video in this case of a man beating her. You know society this has been wrong. If you're
parents are waiting for?
Okay, one minute. Okay, here's a simple logic I want. Manvi, can you just not be... Manvi, when a girl, after getting married, is getting tortured and beaten and assaulted and threatened in her in-laws' house. Manvi, can you please hold yourself back? I'll have to start again. Manvi, can you not speak over me? This is a serious matter. When a girl, after getting married, is being tortured and assaulted and beaten, right, in her in-laws' house, comes to her parents' house and says, help me. And the parents, right, say adjust. And the parents themselves are asking for dowry, allegedly from their own daughter-in-law at home. The parents are in no moral position to say what their daughter is going through is wrong, because they are doing it to somebody else's daughter in their own house.
Arnab, you need to understand.
No, there's nothing to understand here.
She was running her own business.
Subrashta.
I don't know if this is a solution. But as a standard practice, and I'm nobody, but I think it's a standard practice that we can adopt. Whenever I receive a wedding card, I simply ask, is there a dowry being taken or received? Even if there are, lavish gifts being taken or received, I just do not attend weddings. I have not attended many of my cousins' weddings. And this video might reach them and they might understand why I don't attend family weddings, precisely for this reason. Till the time everybody who is influential enough to, which goes for politicians, by the way, whether BJP, whether Congress, whether Aam Aadmi Party, do not attend any wedding where dowries are taken or given. If you have any social standing in society, if you feel that your voice matters, just do not legitimize that stupid practice. And dowry does not only mean, cash exchanges or BMWs being exchanged. It's very subtle. It's as simple as हमारे तरफ के लोगों का ध्यान रख दीजिएगा. ये भी dowry है. If the men,
Prashant versus Subrashta.
If the couple getting married have a certain way of going about their solemnizing their wedding vows, I think that's the only thing that the society should actually worry about. Because my tradition taught me that Shankar and Parvati did not involve their families when they were getting married. My tradition teaches me that when Krishna married so many of his wives, none of them had counsel of their parents. Please understand, in the name of tradition, you cannot, I'm sorry, sir, you cannot take our tradition out of context and set up a patriarchal narrative. Patriarchy, in its rawest form, has always been about victimizing women. My only appeal to women
we have lost a life here, madam.
I'm not asking you to adjust.
Okay, Subrashta, let Prashant come in. I get your point.
He doesn't want to hear. First of all, the lady had said that daughters don't get right in their father's property. It is wrong. First of all, get your facts right, the law right. The daughters have right in their father's property. Secondly, most importantly, we hang our heads in shame. We've lost our
प्रॉपर्टी में
rights.
हक दीजिए
We've
ना,
lost
फिर
our-
50 लाख देके क्यों
Madam,
टरका रहे हैं?
please, hear
आपका
me
जमीन
out.
है, बंटवारा
You
कीजिए।
get your chance.
बेटी को
You will get
पढ़ाइए।
your chance.
If you
You
have
will
a
get
son
your
and
chance.
and a daughter in the
We
family, do
lost
not
our
ask your
life.
daughter to adjust.
We should hang our heads in shame. Nobody is saying that dowry is wrong. Still, people are going ahead. Parents are gifting things. Some are gifting a lot, so the in-laws are happy, and some are not able to, so the in-laws are unhappy. At the end of the day, I do not know whether this husband burnt this lady alive or not.
It is also on the woman to see that their in-laws do not take her agency and autonomy hostage. Is the limited point I'm making.
Do you understand?
If a girl
Do you
is
understand? I'm
sagacious
completely
enough to
offended.
realize that her Instagram profile
At
is
the
going
end
to
of the
burn her
day, at
business,
the end of
she
the
should
day,
be extremely cautious.
our
she
society
should be extremely
is-
cautious
our
in
society
negotiating
has-
No,
with
this,
foreign
what do you mean extremely cautious? You see, we should say we should be more defiant. I would say this to you in counter to you. I would say if your society is not letting you do what you want, walk out or be completely defiant.
Absolutely.
Be
I
completely
agree with you.
defiant.
Walk out.
Why to be
Nikki did
cautious?
not do that, Arnab.
Why
She
caution?
wanted.
Why say be cautious? Cautious for what?
Okay, all
Yogita.
right, I take the word caution. I take the word caution.
Parents are
Be
equally to be
defiant. Walk
blamed.
out of a
Who
marriage
send the
like that.
daughters back?
Walk out of your
I'm
in-laws'
sorry.
house and make a name for
How could you
yourself.
send your daughter back in a house where she's been beaten up? Your other daughter is still there in that house. Why? You should have called both the daughters back. Call the police. The problem is the
agree
parents
with Prashant.
neglect their
I agree
daughters.
with him.
The parents leave their daughters, and when they're
I agree
beaten up
with
by
him.
their husbands, they're not stopped. You need to. You can curb this menace.
Prashantji, I'm just
The law is
adding
there.
to I'm just
Dowry is
adding to what
wrong.
you are saying.
Dowry is
That
illegal.
even if your
Why don't
parents
people
do not
do what
stand
is
with
dowry?
you, even if your
Sorry.
parents do not stand
Sorry.
with you, have the
parents are
faith in
equally to be
yourself to
blamed.
just
The
walk
parents
Okay.
out
are
of
the
an
wives
abusive
are to be
relationship.
blamed. The parents have been telling adjust. Why? Why should the
And
girl
Arnab,
adjust
before
when
my
she's been
tradition is
beaten up?
damned, let me tell you one thing that
Husband will be punished.
our tradition is not just about Navadurgas. It is also about 10 Mahavidyas, one of whom is
For
Durgavati.
aiding and
She
abetting.
ate up
For
Lord
aiding
Shiva
and
just
abetting.
because she was hungry and Shiva
Madam,
could not
listen,
provide.
Aiding and abetting.
Thus, Mahavidya
Hitting,
also talks
getting
about
the
Kali and
daughter beaten
Tara.
up
The problem
is an
is that
offense.
we have domesticated certain devis
If my-
and we have
if my
completely
daughter-
kept some of
if
them
my
out of our
daughter
domestic
is
bounds.
touched,
We'll
And
close
this
on
has
this.
happened in the name
Well,
of
I
tradition.
think
My problem is do not make my
I
tradition
think
too hostile.
I think there should also be an investigation on Nikki's parents and the people who intervened from this so-called panchayat. You can't limit it. And I think if Yogi's government has shot that man in the foot because of an encounter, alleged encounter, I'm all for it. But that's not justice. True justice will happen when all the players involved face justice. I thank you.
And then we give a lesson learned.
I thank you all for joining me on this very important subject. Ladies and gentlemen, when I'm back at 9 o'clock this evening, why the whole world is rooting for Narendra Modi versus Donald Trump in a few minutes.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
MDH।
From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate. Arnab Goswami on the debate.
On the show tonight, a complex web of allegations and counter-allegations between two families. But the big question is, what happened in those final moments? Who killed and who is responsible for the murder of Nikki Bhati? At 9 o'clock this evening, Donald Trump must know that for India, national interest, farmers' interest takes precedence above all. So no pressure tactic will work, for we as an economic superpower are going strong. Ladies and gentlemen, we have all seen the horrifying visuals of how a 28-year-old Nikki Bhati walked down a flight of stairs engulfed in flames as her sister captured what became her last moments. We were told, first, it is a case of dowry abuse. All kinds of allegations and counter-allegations were hurled in what has emerged to be a massive family feud full of lies, full of deceit, and full of patriarchy. But as this incident, which has happened within the National Capital Region in Greater Noida on the outskirts of Delhi, gets national and central focus, and it becomes a center point of a huge debate on dowry and how women are being treated. The question remains, was Nikki Bhati betrayed by her own? Is this the unfortunate case of a young lady battered by her in-laws and abandoned by her own family? This is the story of the state of progressive women in our society today. There are serious allegations made against the Nikki Bhati's in-laws based on the visual evidence that further solidified public sentiment. Nikki and her sister Kanchan were both married to brothers in the Bhati family in 2016, 9 years back. They faced 9 years of abuse, beaten over dowry demands through their entire marital life, and yet became, every time Nikki Bhati, frustrated, angry, returned home, she was convinced by the elders of the society that she has to adjust, that she has to go into, quote-unquote, reconcile and go back. On one hand were allegations of Kanchan, the elder daughter who was married in the same household, who said, quote-unquote, we were beaten and tortured for days. They were demanding 36 lakh rupees in dowry. They hit her on the neck and on the head. They threw acid and they set her on fire in front of her child. On the other hand were the words of a father who, in grief, who despite what happened, justified not approaching the police first. He has faith in a khap panchayat kind of model. He said, "Hamare biradri mein baith ke samjhaya jata hai." In other words, in our community, we sit together and explain things. We go to a police or court when a person doesn't respect the panchayat and the community. कचहरी में तब जाते हैं जब कोई मान और सम्मान होता है पंचायत और बिरादरी का. His basic point is we settle it among ourselves. Today the same father stands and demands bulldozer action from the Yogi government. He demands an encounter of his son-in-law, but his actions and his words have stark contrast. After all that his daughter endured, after alleging murder, after publicly accepting that their daughters were brutally beaten up by the Bhati family, Nikki's own family let her in-laws, who tortured her, who killed her. Now they allowed the same people who murdered her, who set her on fire, to cremate her. Nikki's brother says it was her in-laws' last wish. And of course they prioritized the wishes of her daughter's killer over the last respect for her dead body. The same in-laws whose house they now demand to be razed. They handed her Nikki's body. Nikki's body, their daughter's body, was handed over to her killers. People who had spent years harassing and torturing her because they had been given, quote-unquote, many chances before. This is the face of the social evil of dowry. It raises serious questions on how parents are unable to protect their daughters because, guess what? Nikki Bhati's family that mourned her death and accused her in-laws of dowry harassment are now the same ones who are facing allegations of perpetuated dowry harassment by their own estranged daughter-in-law Meenakshi, the estranged wife of Nikki's brother Rohit Paila. As per reports which are now emerging, Meenakshi's family had given a car as dowry, which the Paila family sold, calling it inauspicious. And when Meenakshi's family refused the additional demand for a Scorpio SUV and cash, she was reportedly sent back to her parents. The case of Nikki is being discussed, but there are many more cases which have gone unnoticed. Viewers, in Amroha, 32-year-old Parul, a trained nurse and mother of twins, has been set on fire by her husband Devendra, a serving police constable, and 5 of his relatives after repeated dowry demands went unmet. In Sarnada village, Jodhpur, in Rajasthan, 32-year-old teacher Sanju Bishnoi and her 3-year-old daughter Yashasvi died after Sanju set them both ablaze, allegedly due to dowry harassment by her in-laws and her husband and an associate. A suicide note detailed ongoing abuse despite prior dowry payments, including a car. Dowry-related deaths remain a persistent problem in India, with an average of 7,000 cases reported between 2017 and 2022, according to NCRB data. Dowry-related deaths continue to be a grave concern in India, accounting for 50% almost of all female homicides annually, according to data from 1999 to 2016. Another grim reminder is the Radhika murder case, where her father shot her dead for daring to be ambitious, because she was running a tennis academy, because she was being independent, because she was making reels. No matter how accomplished women become, they are still made to pay the price for the so-called honor. We say we are a modern society, but we still ask women to live by rules written for a different time. We push them to fit into molds that don't belong in today's world, telling them to adjust, to not make a scene, to protect the very people who harm them, burn them, and kill them. And in that gap between who we pretend to be and what we really allow, women like Nikki are lost. Nikki Bhatti's story isn't rare, and that's exactly what makes it terrifying. It's not a one-off case. It's the story of so many women we know, living lives they never signed up for, staying silent because walking away feels harder than staying. It's about women being told to be the bigger person, to compromise for the sake of family, to adjust even if it means slowly losing themselves every day. The hardest part to accept is this: Nikki did everything that was expected of her. She stayed, she tried, she kept going back, because that is what she was told to do by her own parents, by her own family. And still it was not enough to save her. As long as survival means surrender, and as long as silence is seen as a virtue, this will not stop. And when the next case appeared in the headlines, don't say you were shocked, because the truth is, we all saw it coming.
These videos of late Nikki Bhatti have shaken the conscience of the entire nation. The words no child ever have to utter.
मम्मा के ऊपर पहले कुछ डाला, फिर मम्मा को चाहता मारा, फिर लाइटर से आग लगा दी थी.
But there have been massive revelations and huge twists.
Just when the case seems to be clear, new angle has emerged from Nikki Bhatti's murder case. What we have seen that a CCTV footage has come out in which a timestamp has been shown that at around 5:42 p.m. Nikki Bhatti's husband, Vipin Bhatti, was outside his residence and a commotion took place at 5:47 p.m. So how can he be at two different places? So right now the Gautam Budh Nagar police team is investigating the entire case, and in this case what we are seeing, the trouble seems mounting for the Bhatti's families at how can one person be at two different locations.
Besides, it has been alleged that Nikki's family members are also the culprits of the crime they are accusing Nikki's in-laws of committing.
मेरे को दहेज के लिए 9 साल हो गए, मुझे घर से बेघर कर रखा है मेरे ससुराल वालों ने. मुझसे दहेज मांगते हैं, वहाँ पर ले जाते तो मेरे साथ मारपीट करते थे, मुझे मारा करते थे, मेरे भैया पे गोली तक चलाई थी उन्होंने.
Not just this, The same family which demanded capital punishment for the harassers handed over their daughter's dead body to the same alleged murderers to conduct last rites. Wronged when alive, wronged in death. The sister who shared the same roof let Nikki go through torture for years. The husband who does not even have an ounce of remorse after losing his life partner.
गलती का पछतावा है आपको? मुझे नहीं है, नहीं मैंने मारी है। हाँ। ना मैंने कुछ किया है, अपने आप मरी है। हाँ। अच्छा। आप पहले भी मारपीट करते थे उससे? मियाँ बीवी में हर जगह लड़ाई होती रहती है, ये कोई आम बात नहीं है।
As it appears, Nikki's only fault was to aspire, to go out, to chase her dreams. It's a patriarchal ecosystem which does not like the women progressing. Wants to tie them down to their dowries and silences them by all means if they attempt to break the shackles of conventionality.
The Nikki murder and dowry case has had many twists. At the core, I think the fundamental issue which emerges in this case is this: that neither side is innocent. Neither is Nikki Bhatti's own parents and family innocent. And of course, her in-laws are not innocent. Nikki's own family has no moral high ground to stand on. They themselves have been demanding, allegedly, dowry from their own daughter-in-law. Nikki's brother faces similar allegations and says, when he's told that he also, that is Nikki's brother, used to ill-treat his wife, he says, fights happen in every house, at least we did not burn the girl. Nikki's brother says, at least I did not burn my wife. Almost as if that is a favor. At the core of it is a warped idea of tradition, that if anybody resists, they are going against social norms. This is the core issue here. If anybody resists, they are going against social norms. At the core is respect for society, which is almost taught as a norm. Nikki, according to these people, did not respect society, so she was killed. Nikki's sister is lucky she's not been killed. Nikki's brother says, you should be grateful, I have not burnt my wife. And at the core, there's a panchayat system which says, we are the ones who should resolve this matter, not the police and not the courts. And this is all happening on the outskirts of the national capital. I'd like to get different sets of views. I welcome Surabhi, Yogita, N.S. Napinai. I welcome Subrashta, Advocate Prashant Mendirata and Manvi Taneja on the debate. I'd like to start with Yogita. Yogita, what is, I don't think Nikki's family, and this is the twist that has emerged, who publicly mourned her death and accused her laws of dowry harassment, but what is emerging is a startling hypocrisy that the same family that allegedly perpetuated dowry harassment against another woman, who is the estranged wife of Nikki's brother, which means there's institutionalized dowry and dowry harassment that is going on both sides. What are the questions which emerge in your view?
See, it's nothing new to me. So these kind of cases come to us. The first question we ask the parents themselves, like, why did you send her back? As you rightly mentioned when you were starting your debate, you nailed it. You nailed every aspect of it. And I'm really grateful for that, because you really brought out the reality of our society, our country, how our daughters are suffering, wherever they are, whether in law's place or their own parents' place, even outside, they are not safe anywhere. So this is the dark reality we need to kind of understand and first of all face it. And we can't be in that la la land of, that everything is fine. this particular community, yes, I would name it as a community. I attended a wedding last year and I had to leave that wedding because I saw 4 luxury cars, in the same community. I'm talking about Bhatis. So 4 luxury cars was there and they were collecting funds to give more dowry. And there were politicians present. It was a very high-end marriage. They were collecting funds and they were feeling very proud about it. And all the politicians were attending. If I could walk out that wedding, why couldn't they? They could see that newly, that flowered cars were parked outside to be gifted. How can we also as society are so immune to such things that we take it for granted. Okay, oh my God, dowry, it's fine. We see those cars parked. We attend those weddings. I mean, shame on us as a society that we let it happen under the nose. So dowry giving, dowry receiving, dowry witnessing is also a crime. We need to understand that and we need to take a stand. And this is very prevalent. Even now in 2025, what are we talking about? How can we protect the daughters and how can we just make slogans and not really save our daughters? And here, everybody is a criminal. I mean, I would definitely give it to the parents who are torturing their own daughter-in-law and now asking for justice for their daughter. I'm sorry, all daughters are same and all daughters belong to this country and they all need to be protected. We need to, take a leap now and we need to work. These khap panchayats, sarpanch, mediators, they all have to be taken for, taken for task and we need to ask them what authority do they have when they see such kind of crime happening, and they are sending it back here. Just kar lo. Shame on them.
The argument put always is adjust kar lo, which means respect society, social norms, respect. And if you speak against it, you are told you're against culture. This is not Indian culture. So we need to draw a line here, Subrashta, between what is tradition and what is regression. But the case of Nikki is incredible because her own parents are throwing her out of the house after she is burnt and killed. They tell the people who killed her that you cremate her because this is our tradition. They let her killers cremate her. They send her body back because the daughter, her life is dispensable. But their quote idea of social honor is not. Very complex case, Subrashta, brings many questions to our mind, I'm sure.
Actually, Arnab, it is not a very complex case. The problem is that today, in the name of tradition and culture, we have pushed certain ideas which are absolutely nonsensical, illogical, and have nothing to do with tradition. Let us look at the moot question. The moot question is about women not having share in ancestral property of their fathers, which is why dowry has become a norm. Now, if dowry becomes a norm and girls are not educated, but money is, as Yogita rightly pointed out, but money is accumulated just to marry her off. And then she's again absolutely right when she says there are politicians who will give 50,000, 51,000 rupees in the name of beti ka vivah. And to what end? To the end that बिटिया की एक बार डोली अगर उठ गई तो फिर अर्थी ही हमारे पास आएगी. This is the kind of mentality which has created all these cases that we see around us. I'm not going to damn tradition, Arnab, because tradition dictated that people like, and I know I might be termed regressive for it, but there was the concept of Stridhan. But where is the concept of Stridhan today? Do you see parents actually giving property to their daughters? And it is a double-edged sword. People today, what is expected of a father of a girl child is to educate the girl child to no end, and which is absolutely progressive. One should do that. But the very same father, it has happened in almost all households, and the very same father would also give dowry because that is the norm. Now, interestingly, taking and giving, receiving in both the cases is a criminal offense. There are laws in this land which says that giving and taking dowry both are criminal. But despite all of that, we are at a crossroads where we actually discuss this case as if it's a huge, sociological experiment. The problem, Arnab, is that we as a society have become so vacuous and have become so disconnected with our culture that just to ossify patriarchal norms, we hide behind this veil of being traditional, of being cultural. I think it is really upon women of this country today to say no to any kind of material exchange in marriage. Any kind. When I say any kind, it means no lavish weddings, no exchange of token saas ko or nanad ko gehna dena and all of that jazz, and vice versa. Do not receive it from the in-laws side also. And please accept the fact that you have a right to property at your ancestral place and at your in-laws place. Fight for these two rights. Educate yourself, know your rights, and move ahead. Now, in Nikki's case, for instance, there's one aspect on which I would also like to make it clear that marriage is not just a transaction, a social or an economic transaction. When you marry into a household, you marry into a household's culture. And when I say culture, I don't necessarily mean these regressive trends. It's also about respecting the family's wishes. If the family is uncomfortable with an ostentatious presence on social media, I think it is okay to taper it down a bit.
Why?
These are issues which have come up in Nikki Bhati's case.
Why? You're saying that if her in-laws were not comfortable with her making reels and social media posts, it's okay to taper it down.
Okay, let me qualify it further. I have no problem. I mean, one should have absolute agency in doing whatever one wants to in the world of social media, especially if a woman is out there using social media for commercial purposes, as if she had a beauty parlor and she wanted to make reels. All is good with that. But there is a certain tone and tenor that your family might not like. I'm not saying completely, give in and say, do whatever the in-laws or whatever your partner wants to. But I think there can be a middle ground that can be reached. There are certain personal habits which irk, people in a relationship. My limited point is that instead of painting one side as black and the other as white, we have to identify the gray zone. If at all we want, and I can be a full advocate of no marriage as an institution, but if at all we accept that marriage is an institution, then we also have to accept that there are certain adjustments that have to be made. And this adjustment, by the way, is not akin to the kind of adjustment which is being asked of women. That
Yogita is coming in. Can't you see, producers? Yogita is coming in sharply. Producers, wake up, please.
Have to follow those norms in the marriage, even if you are saying you're not advocating the marriage per se, but why certain norms? Why we have to, as women, only follow certain norms? Why can't this would have been agreement between the family? Okay, you want to make reel, whatever makes you happy, you do that. They were running the family, by the way. It's not that they were just doing it for fun. They were doing it for fun and they were making money. I mean, whatever they made them happy, this couldn't have been the reason that they should have gone through such a torture. And no woman should. I mean, marriage doesn't mean that you succumb to, everything what is being told to you. So if a man can do anything, a woman should also have the equal liberty.
Okay, Yogita, let her respond to you, please. Yeah.
Yogita, I echo your thoughts. I have no disagreement with the fact that a woman and a man have equal rights, have equal should have equal modes of expression. I don't even think this kind of language should actually follow through. We are all equal beings with equal agency. I have no qualms about that. What I'm saying is, when you get into an institution called the marriage, we all know it is a patriarchal setup. We know it is not an equal force. It is like, okay, let me give you another example. I know for a fact that this society that we live in is anti-women. I know it for a fact. I know that dressing up a certain way is going to land me in trouble in specific pockets of Delhi. I do not wear certain kinds of clothes, right? My point is very limited. We need to twist patriarchy and work around patriarchy in such a way that our larger agency is not taken.
The point is, Subrashta. Subrashta, the danger of your argument. I'll tell you the danger of your argument. I want to bring in Surabhi in on this because I think she wants to. Is that you are basically saying that if an in-law's family is not comfortable with reels being made, it's okay for the woman to adjust a bit so as to not cause inconvenience to the in-laws. Now, equally, there was the case of Radhika, who's represented the country, right, who wanted to start a tennis academy, ran a tennis academy, right? And she was killed by her father, shot at. she would make reels. So the equal argument can be made that if your father or your mother or your family are not comfortable with you making reels, then you should also adjust a bit. The issue is in the name of saying there are certain norms. There are certain norms. You see, when you begin to say this, Subrashta, there are certain norms.